today we'll be entering the world of He-Man and Master Universe action figures. Only action figures. I know I said before that there was going to be something else to do with this, but after I look here, I have a funny feeling that I'm going to be rabbiting on for about 15-20 minutes, and I don't think I could do the other stuff on that. Plus the fact that the next one, the comic book one, will be a longer video, so because there's quite a lot to do in that, and I don't want to really break that up into 2 parts. So that'll be the next one after this. So yes, He-Man and the Master Universe action figures. God, where to begin with this? Obviously, whenever you're watching the TV show, there was, whenever they first came out with it, that they did have the action figures out first, from what I remember, and then they did the animated show, the classic Filmation show, and then obviously they brought out the action figures. Now there is like a couple of books. There's Roger Sweet's book, and there's Mastering the Universe, and it basically tells the story of the $1 billion idea, you know, like, because this just went up and up and up, and then once it hit its peak, it just crashed, something fierce. But obviously the main reason why I like these figures was because of the TV show, you know, like they were putting new characters in there. I remember there was an interview where I was interviewing Larry DiTillio, and he said that Mattel wanted an idea for a machine called the Ball Buster, if you could believe that. You can just see that in the packaging, like Ball Buster. But obviously that was nixed. But sometimes they would say, we've got this idea for this, can you incorporate that in the show, you know, like so. What I'm going to do is, before I start talking about the action figures, is show you some of the action figures in commercial form. So there's going to be one to do with my favourite action figure, which I'll show shortly. There's going to be one to do with a vehicle, which was a cool vehicle to have, but in the show was awful. And the third one will be a play set, Snake Mountain, which was one you saw me with the microphone whenever I was a kid. So you'll see that. So I'm going to just put these here, and I'll be right back. Enjoy the commercial break.
Who are you?
I'm Many Faces with the power to change from man to robot to monster.
Oh, no.
He-Man, He-Man.
He-Man sold separately.
Hi, old friend. Hi.
He-Man, he's your friend?
Friend and ally. He's just kind of weird sometimes.
Oh, in specially marked packages, Many Faces comes with 5 extra weapons. He-Man and Many Faces each sold separately. Part of the Masters of the Universe collection. From Mattel.
Go get him, Dragon Walker. Go.
Dragon Walker, Battle Armor, He-Man, and Skeletor and Merman each sold separately.
Step right this way, He-Man.
Batteries not included.
What's that? Take that, He-Man. May the mightiest power prevail.
New Dragon Walker vehicle for use with most Masters of the Universe figures. Action figures each sold separately. From Mattel.
Is Snake Mountain ready to take on He-Man? Anytime!
Snake Mountain, Battle Armor, He-Man, and Skeletor each sold separately. You put the mountain together. Batteries not included.
Is your serpent ready to strike? Yes! Come, He-Man. Come to Snake Mountain. If you dare.
Snake Mountain with Echo Microphone. New from the Masters of the Universe collection. Action figures each sold separately. From Mattel.
So hopefully you enjoyed the commercials there. So this is Many Faces. And from man... Oh, dear Lord. You can tell that's not been used for a while. To monster to robot. And obviously with a lot of them you would get like a weapon. So you have his blaster here. There was different colorings, and this is from 1982, and you can see here the swivel hips. So a lot of them had very much like the wrestling figures back in the day, that they would have that there, so you would be able to have one stand up and do that, and they would fall over. But yeah, so Many Faces, his unique action feature was the fact that you were able to turn them into different characters. Each figure had its own one. Probably some of the most recognizable one was Mossman, where he smelled like pine. I do actually have like a deodorant that came from a convention that smells of pine. Stinkor, that smelled, you know, he's meant to smell like a skunk, so he stank. There's one here that I'll touch on later on. Cobra Khan, where basically you were able to take his head off and pour water in, and he would spray like a mist. And the same with Dragon Blaster Skeletor. So it was Skeletor, and then on the back here he would have the little dragon where you just spray down and it would shoot like a ray of that. So with each of the figures as well, you would get a mini comic. And on the mini comic as well, you would have on the back here some of the other things there. So you have HeMan, you press down and you press a little button on the back of his foot and it would spring up. Dropjaw is the one where you can basically hook his weapons there and put one there. And Triclops is very much like Man-E-Faces, where you can spin the top of his head and it turns into different eyes. HeMan didn't really have one. The early stages didn't really have one. So that is basically what you got with Man-E-Faces. This is like a carded Man-E-Faces. So you can see here. And on the back you have here. So it says there, Evil Warrior Zodak, which he would actually be a neutral kind of one, but more good than he would be bad. Stratos was basically one who flew. Tila, just a woman. Man at Arms, just generic guy really. So this isn't actually an original one, this is like a reproduction one. But you can see there where the comic is behind there. So there is like a great documentary called, I think it's called The Power of Grayskull. It should be on Netflix, and basically they tell you all the ideas. And like whenever they're pitching this, he said like, well, you know, what else do you have? And he said, well, I've got an animated show. And we're like, oh, right, okay. And they hadn't had that. And then said, well, what else are you going to put with that? And they said the mini comic. And then they just basically didn't know about that either. So yeah, so they were the classic, you know, like the classic ones. And then after a while, you would have the commemorative ones. Now let's try and do this without things falling. Right, so you would have the commemorative figures. So basically these came out, I think at some stage Mattel had lost the molds of these or sold them and had to buy them back in order to make these. So you have Battle Armor HeMan there, and he comes with Masks of Power, which has Fisto, which is the guy here. Apologies for that finger, she used a different one. So Fisto had like a big fist, and then he would go like that, and there was one called Jitsu, and he would basically look like it was karate chop. So you had these here, and then on the back would just be the same kind of thing here, and then like I say with the comic. So this is probably my favorite action figure, is Battle Armor HeMan, and the reason as to why is you can see there the H, whenever you hit it, it dents, and you hit it again, and dents again. So they brought out a HeMan version and a Skeletor version, and then you can just do that, and then it just resets itself again. He has, well, he doesn't really have that feature either. He did, and then it's gone. I don't have like his axe or anything like that, so he would come like an axe and probably a shield as well. And that's probably one of my favorite features, is that one there. I do, you know, there's not figures that are really like, oh, that one's terrible. Like some of the ideas that they had were really, really good. So some of the other comics you would have is Stench Evil. So this is Stinkor here. You have the Rock People, which is just as what it seems. That's them there, but they actually fold over into a rock. So that's pretty unique. This one here shows you on the back more of the villains that were in She-Ra. So you've got Leech, who was great because he would stick to windows, very much like those things, you know, like Garfield or whatever, or Baby Yoda now, that you would see stuck on windows. Mantenna, you had a button on his back where his eyes would pop out. Modulok, basically he was basically like HeMan but with Lego. So you could just build whatever way you wanted. You could build it that way, you could build it another way. Grizzlor was just really, really furry. And then the Evil Horde playset, which had like a snake here, which you actually just, it was more like a glove that you could use for that. Then we did have TMZ Talk, who I talked about in the last one. He then did this, which says, to Chris, enjoy that new mini comic. So this is Return from Terror Island. So it's just like, it just looks like a brand new mini comic, really. So I was really happy to get that, and he just signed the back of it because I asked him to, which was cool. So with that, obviously the commemorative series was, they seem to do that with a lot of things, you know, with the likes of, say, Transformers, etc. They seem to do that. So some time had passed, and then they brought out what's called the Classics line. So they basically look like this. So if I can compare, this is the original Man-E-Faces here, and then this is the Classics version here. So basically this is like an articulated version of Man-E-Faces. Now you did get 2 sets of heads with him. So you've got one that has the traditional man, robot, monster, but you did have one that had Orko, Skeletor and HeMan on it, which is really good. So you could see there that, you know, his elbows articulate, his gun's a lot smaller. You know, like you've got articulation in the knees. The one thing was some of the ankle ones were really, really ropey at the start of it. There was a lot of flaws, especially in the ab crunch there. There was a lot of flaws in there. But this was such a popular line. The problem with this was whenever you went on to you couldn't get these in stores, and obviously with me being Northern Ireland, if they had them in stores, I don't honestly know where you would have got them from. But you had to go on a MattyCollector.com every month before they did a subscription thing. Even with the subscription stuff, they still managed to balls it up. But I had to go on at 15th of every month to try to get these figures, and it was a pain in the backside. It really was. My good friend Rob Bass, his wife Crystal, her and I used to talk via Skype. You know, like if I didn't miss out on any of these, but after a while I kind of gave up, and there was a guy that I talked to who he was getting the figures and then he was selling them on, so I was able to get them from him. But then he kind of did a runner and I missed out on a couple of figures. I was able to get my money back, and there's a story about one of them which I'll get on to do with the podcasting. So I'll touch on that at some stage. So that's what Man-E-Faces there looks like, and that's what HeMan looks like there. Now I'll talk about more about this to do with the podcast as well, because there's a story about this figure as well, which kind of goes into the podcast a bit more. Anyway, so then after that, then with the 2002 rebirth, there was like a lot of figures there, which I showed you on the back of the DVD box there. Now I don't have any of the actual figures, but they did a line called Stactions, which are basically like statues, and the only one I have left of this is King Randor. So this is Adam's dad. You do have on the side here, you have like Squeeze, Rio Blast and Evil Lyn. Now these were really, really good ones. I have got this out of the box, so I'll show you it in a sec. These are done by the Four Horsemen, not the Ric Flair Four Horsemen, in case you're wondering. Simon probably thought that. And it's also done by NECA. So I did have like a autographed one of King Randor, but I managed to get rid of that for a decent price quite some time ago. So whoops. So this is what he looks like. So you've got here the shield, which is basically burnt, because in the first episode of the 2002 show, he throws acid, or Keldor throws acid, sorry, and he deflects it, and then it ends up in Keldor's face, and Keldor becomes Skeletor, his half-brother. And then you've got here his sword, and it's all, you know, you feel like you need to have a brush to brush that. I think sometimes if I get a bit nostalgic about hair, I'll just sit and brush that instead. But yeah, it's a really, really nice figure. I don't have it out on display because this would just attract too much dust, so it just sleeps nicely in its box. We'll put you there. So then after that, yeah, so that was before the Classics line. Sorry, I got them kind of mixed up. So that was before the Classics line, and then after the Classics line, obviously that's just finished with the big $300, $500 Snake Mountain, which is absolutely huge and it looks amazing, but I would never pay that much for like a play set ever. So then you do have the Super 7, which is like the rebirth of the Classics. So this is basically to do with Prince Adam, and that's what Prince Adam looks like there. So this is the original one, with the his little belt and everything, and this is like a reimagined version of that. Obviously you can see that his coat is a lot more pink, very much like the Filmation show. So they have done other ones with HeMan and Skeletor, but they look dreadful. HeMan's hair is way too blonde and Skeletor's mouth wide open, and it just doesn't look good. One of the good wee figures there is Orko. He basically had a hole in him, and he had like a ripcord, and once you did that he would kind of spin around, and he had like a magic trick with him as well. And then you've got other ones there that you could see, the likes of Skeletor, etc. They do have like other figures of these, but again, because at the minute, if you miss out on something, it goes for an extortionate amount of money on eBay, and I'm really not willing to pay the prices on them, to be honest. So that is Prince Adam, one of my favorite figures. Obviously, they do have the likes of pop figures. I did have them way back when. Sold them for a really good price, like way more than I was expecting. And then I didn't really have anything new to do with He-Man until Christmas time, whenever I got this. So this is basically like Mega Constructs. This is the Wind Raider with He-Man inside it, and you do get Skeletor as well. So basically, I got Amazon vouchers from Karen's mother and father for Christmas, so thank you very much for that. And managed to get myself this as one of the presents. There is a new one coming out in should be out in a couple of days after this airs, and I'm looking forward to building that. I have a Battle Cat with it as well, but I always find Lego or this very therapeutic, and really enjoyed playing that, or playing with that and building that, and it was actually really good to do. With action figures as well, obviously there's a whole rake load of them. Let me try and get this out without damaging that. So you do have the things like these Lee's Toy Reviews. You can see there Optimus Prime on the back, and basically sometimes this will show you all the figures that you can get. So this basically shows you like all the classic figures and play sets, etc. So there's like some of the vehicles there, the battle bones. That was basically you just carrying them, and there's a Wind Raider there. It has really nice artwork on the front of it. And then you've got there the He-Man in space, and then after that you do have the commemorative ones, which I was just showing you there. There's quite a lot of them. I did have like the 5 packs of them. Then you got the 2002 stuff, which again you see there that there's like a battle sound. Some of them you were able to put in Castle Grayskull and they made like a sound. And then you have some miniatures and some accessories, etc. So you've got like that one for that. Here you do have like some of the classic ones and what they look like. So you can see there, if I have a tick, that meant I had it way back when. And Mosquito was always a very popular one. He had a button on the back where you pressed, and basically in his chest it would look like blood would pump out. You do have here the guide to the 2002, 2004 stuff. So you would see here differences of like Battle Fist, and there's some dreadful ones like that Snake Hunter He-Man. One of my favorite figures in this though is the Snake Armor He-Man. I'll see if I can find it here, which is in the top corner next to Buzz Off. Buzz Off was a very cool figure as well. And then you do have this here, which is just basically like a price guide as well. So, and then you do have the likes of Toy Fair, which was a great magazine back in the day, and unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. This was around the time whenever they're bringing the classic figures back. So yeah, so I've only rabbited on for 15 minutes. So what I'm going to do is put this stuff away, come back, and then I'm going to show you the books that I'm going to talk about. So bear with me, and I'll be back in a few minutes. But that'll make no difference to you because it'll only be a few seconds.
What? He had the power? That's not how I remember it. Need proof? Just look at this new art book from Dark Horse. I'm everywhere in it. See me confounding that muscle-bound buffoon? He looks defeated right down to his fuzzy shorts. This would have made a great coffee table book for Castle Grayskull when I ruled Eternia. Ah, yes. Remember that time I, the Lord of Destruction, was in a major motion picture? I do. Check out all these Skeletor toys, cartoons, and knitting patterns. You can't escape me. Look at all these pathetic, pitiful pinheads groveling at my feet. I think it's obvious who really was the master of the universe. But I'll let you in on the power. All you have to do is buy my book. Oh, I'm so lonely.
Hello, welcome back. Hopefully I put like a little advert in for one of these books just to show you. Excuse me. Yeah, these are quite heavy books, so if I'm a bit out of breath, that's why. So yes, there's quite a lot of books here. There's a new one coming out to do with the toys of HeMan Master of the Universe, which Pixel Dan had a hand in doing, so I'm looking forward to getting that. I think it's meant to be out November time, and I think it's maybe February or April now before it comes out. So one of the smaller books that you have is this, which is HeMan and the Master of the Universe mini comic collection. So this basically shows you, like the mini comics that I showed you with each action figure. This is it all compiled in here. Apparently I've read up to here. The only thing with these books is that they're that heavy is that you near enough have a hernia if you're reading these in bed, because can you imagine reading this and it's a hardback as well. So this is featuring stories by creators Robert Kirkman of The Walking Dead, Bruce Timm, Batman the Animated Series, and many more. I remember that Robert Kirkman did like the Icons of Evil comic, which was really, really good. And it's a really, really good book. These books are all fantastic, bar the next one. The next one's probably my least favorite out of all of them, but I really, really enjoy this, and the fact that it's just a lot smaller whenever you compare it to this. Compared to that, and that just shows you there. This is the newspaper strips. So I didn't even know that HeMan was in newspapers. For over 4 years, Master of the Universe had its own newspaper comic strip. The story continues the tales from the Filmation cartoon and bridged the saga to the new space-themed New Adventures of HeMan cartoon launch. The comic strip only ran in selected newspapers and was never reprinted, so many fans never read it until now. Dark Horse brings you the first collection of these strips restored, ready for you to unleash the power. And that's basically what it looks like there. So again, it's not something I've really sat down and read, but it will be something that eventually I will get to. The thing with these books is that, like I say, it's so, you know, they're very good, but it's almost like you have to have like a big cushion in front of you. So the next one is one of my favorite books, and this is The Art of HeMan and the Master of the Universe. So this basically just shows you some of the art to do with the figures, etc. Let me see here if I can find. Shows you here some unproduced toys. Like a Rotary Man. What's that say? Bigfoot. It looks like he just plays football or soccer. And there was one called Create a Character, where somebody created one called the Fearless Photog, and it was actually released then later on as a figure. This just basically shows some of the, and there it's like, you get like some posters as well, so you got one like that, which is really cool. Just some of the stuff in here, it shows you like some prototypes about HeMan, how it first came about. So let's see if I can find it here. So that's what some of the, like one of my favorite figures, Cyclone, was going to look like. There's Mosquito there and Squeeze, I think that is. So it shows you like early concept art of what they were going to look like. Let's see here if I can find what HeMan was originally going to look like. Oh yeah, so this was like one of the figures that they kind of showed, which was there at the top there. So that's what basically the early concept of HeMan. There was like 3 of them that they did do, and one of them looked like Boba Fett. So that's the art of HeMan Master of the Universe. There is like a really good non-profit organization called the Power and Honor Foundation. This is a highly sought after book, which is this one here. I was gifted this because I was interviewing one of the guys, Josh Van Pelt, for my podcast, and he graciously sent me this, which I've always been very, very happy with. Now I'll see here if they have that. Again, I should have really thought about this before I start sitting here flicking through a book. But whenever you flick through these books, it kind of makes you want to go through the whole kind of pages, you know, like of everything. Yeah, so that's there. on some of them. So you could see there one looked like it had a Boba Fett helmet on it, which was funny. So I do have that one. You then have this, which is the HeMan Masters of the Universe Character Guide and World Compendium. Ooh. So this is kind of like the encyclopedia. You know, like if you wanted to look up anything to do with, say, like Grizzlor, it would tell you a bit about him. We were going to look for here. I don't know of any of those characters really. So you've got like characters, you've got artifacts, devices and weapons, you've got locations, you've got vehicles and transportation. You know, so you've got there a couple of different ones there. So you do have that, which is really, again, this is, out of them all, this is probably one of the heaviest books. In fact, one of the next books is probably the heaviest book. So then, TMZ Talk, who seems to feature in every episode of this, he did do the unofficial cartoon guide to HeMan Masters of the Universe. And he did autograph it to send to Chris, aka the Heroic Master Podcast. Thank you for all the support you've shown, you demand, James. So he went from this to then doing this with Dark Horse, which, whenever you compare the two, it's absolutely huge. So this basically chronicles any episode, and it tells you the synopsis, it'll tell you the characters, it'll tell you memorable quotes, it'll show you some storyboards, some trivia, etc. And it's just, you know, like if you're a fan of the classic show, this is a must. I think they were reprinting this from what I remember, so if you even want to delve into the He-Man thing, have a look at this. It is heavy, so try and get somewhere where I'm not going to charge you for postage, because you'll fairly feel it with that one there. Stay. Obviously to do with Filmation, you did have Lou Scheimer, who was the creator of He-Man and the owner of Filmation, and this is a book to do with him. I did pick this up some time ago, but I haven't managed to get through to read this. Obviously they did some other things as well, not just He-Man. They did like Brave Star, they did Ghostbusters before the real Ghostbusters. God, what's that one called? Fat Albert, the Cosby Kids, Tarzan, Lone Ranger, and Zorro. So there's quite a lot of information here about the great man himself, who, without, you know, when we've got a He-Man cartoon, you do have some other books like these ones here, like the Caverns of Fear, which is kind of like a smaller book. And lastly, one that I said I would show you is my Masters of the Universe sticker album. Now this sticker album cost me 20p. You look at sticker albums now, it probably cost you about 20 quid. There's a really nice section though. Yeah, it's that. And in the middle here, where you're able to put the stickers on. So if anyone has stickers available for this, please let me know. So that is definitely going to do us now, because that's another 10 minutes. And I don't think I could have really put that in a video by itself. So I'm glad I was able to put it in with this. But yes, those books are ones that I always look at, and I'm always happy that I have, because some of them are quite hard to get now, especially that Para Honor one. It's very, very difficult to get, and it's probably one of my favorite art books. I'm a sucker for art books, especially if it's a property that I really like Disney, Star Wars, etc. I've got pretty much all the Star Wars ones, including the hard to find. I'll not tell you about it, because there will be an upcoming video to do with Star Wars after a couple of videos. So there will be one to do with Star Wars. I'm hopefully going to do one to do with the prequels, to do with the original saga, and to do with the sequel trilogy as well. And if you are a fan of Star Wars, make sure to click over to my friend Simon's video down below, to click over his channel, give him a hello, tell him Vinto's Vault sent you. I never said Vinto Mania, that's my old channel. So yeah, tell him that Vinto's Vault sent you. And yeah, he's just so passionate about Star Wars, and I always love seeing his videos, and he always encourages me to get on and do these videos. So thank him for these videos, or say, why did you tell him to do these videos? They're terrible. But yeah, so that's definitely going to do it now. Thank you very much for watching. I want to go and get some lunch now, and then I'll probably have some cleaning to do. Brilliant. The lives are locked down now. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and until next time.